Hello, everyone. My name is Simmons, and I'm coming straight at you from the deadline as one of our youth reporters. And I have the great honor to talk to the man, the myth, the legend. He brought life to the Juneteenth scene here in Rochester and is one of the premier Black elders and promoters of the Black agenda. So I want everyone to just bask in the greatness with me of Elder Hanif Abdul. Clap it up for him. I know this isn't a live show, but clap from your homes. He definitely deserves the props. You got to give it to him. How are you doing today, sir?
Thank you very much for that gracious introduction, Stephen.
Now, moving into things, I just want the people to get a bit of an information dump on, who you are, where you're from, just like what it was like growing up for you, just to get a bit of your personality and to know where you're coming from.
Well, let me first start by saying I'm at the tender age of 68 years old, and I was born and raised in the city of Rochester, New York, on the west side of town. And I attended public schools here in the city. Elementary school was #2 school, Madison High School,
Hey.
and then I attended Monroe High School. So I've been here most of my life. There was a gap for me when I traveled a little bit, and I was maybe away from home here, maybe 6, 7 years in my adult life, but mainly here. And growing up was pretty good. I could, I don't know, a lot of people don't imagine this, but we've always heard folks, at least in my era, would always say how the community looked out for them. And that was the case when I grew up. Our neighborhoods were very close knit. We almost knew everyone in every house in terms of the block that we lived on. We were able to coalesce in our neighborhoods and find very interesting things for us to do. As we got older, we competed in sports. Um, we just had a great social connection. And I recall as I got a little older, I got into a little trouble as a young adult, and I wound up having to do a little prison time, and so that took me away from this city for maybe about 6, maybe close to 7 years. And when I came back, I didn't recognize the neighborhoods anymore. Uh, the closeness that I grew up in the neighborhoods, that was gone. And I believe a lot of that had to do with a lot of the policies that took place nationally in terms of uh, allowing poverty to just basically grow. And there's a lack of jobs, education, and the drug scene was the main thing that, you know, based upon me having to go away for an extended period of times for dealing narcotics, I think I was saved from having my life taken or continue to spiraling down the road of drug addiction. But while I was in prison, I accepted Al Islam, became a Muslim, got my life in order, and I was able to come home around 1984 and really start my life. That I continue now. And what was one of the most, I guess, prolific things for me is that what was missing for me coming up was not having an identity. You belong to your neighborhood, you belong to your family, and without a doubt, just because of the oppression and the injustices that you see, you know you belong to the oppressed. And but you really didn't understand who and what you were or what possibly your purpose was, you know.
Yeah,
So it
that's
got a little bit clearer for me when uh, I turned my life over to Al Islam and uh, uh, start living in a community life. When I came out, I joined the mosque on North Street. It was called Masjid Taqwa at the time. We had the Clara Muhammad School there. And I became a fixture in the community in terms of, sort of rising up the ranks and taking on uh, special leadership positions. And I find myself today the imam of a small Muslim community. It's called New Africa Cultural Center. So I think in terms of uh, what I've done within my life, it's not that I'm fully gratified with it, but I had a focus that we wanted to get out in the community and help folks and help people. And so there's a lot of things between that time and now that I could look back on and sort of relish, um, have a little pride in it, and also say that I'm really not finished with the work that I've always intended to do.
That's an excellent story. I'm very glad to get to hear that and that you would share that with us. I saw a lot of similarities in your story to mine as well, because James Madison High School, which is now Wilson Foundation, is the building that my school is in. So
Mhm.
got a little bit of intersection there. I also grew up on the west side, repping it every day.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, 19th Ward is where I'm from. So
yeah.
I've heard stories about like what it was like for my dad growing up. He's about 50, and it's a lot similar to what you said. Longing for community is something that I know a lot of my friends are feeling, especially right now because we're all separated with COVID. But even before everyone was on lockdown, we were all locked in to our rooms, our cell phones, and just no one was really getting outside because we felt there wasn't anything to do. Whenever my relatives from down south or who recently moved down south come up to visit, they always talk about how there's nothing to do here. And I feel like that we definitely are missing that sense of community that I heard so many stories about. So, what are some ways that you think we could try to reinvigorate that, bring that back, so that people know that where they're from is somewhere they should be proud of, somewhere they should rep, somewhere they should want to be?
Well, I think the terrible mistake that a lot of us make is that when we look at our community, we look at it in deficits. We're
Mm.
always looking to see what's wrong with it. And then as we start looking at it, then this is where we take our measurements from. And that's not an axiology for us. That's more of an axiology of the dominant society instructing us that counting and measuring a thing is the thing that is to give us joy and is to um, somewhat define what our values are. And so I think that if, as a people, we looked a little different and looked at the assets that are around us and in our community, we would build a much better village in terms of doing that. The worst place that Black people can live is in the minds of white folks. And
Mm.
so if we are led to live there, then we're always trying to do something to ease their mind or to make them comfortable in terms of how they operate in the society, when it comes to us. And so I would say to us that if we looked at our assets and made sure that we looked at those things, for example, is that uh, for us as African people, our thing is our relationships. And so when I was coming up as a young person, I think I said this earlier, the community took care of us. And that was an asset, having a community that understood you and treated you just like you was a child, you know, even though you might have grew up in a household, you had your parents and everything else like that. But even when you stepped out, there was always some type of parental guidance or instruction there for you. Um, that's what I think that we have to capture again. And what tends to happen is that we become fictive in terms of saying that we're related. So many of us grew up and were in each other's company for 10, 15 years in the neighborhood till we decided to call each other cousins or brothers. And so that's the thing that I think we have to get that back again. And it's sort of hard to get that when we're starting to be trained to look at our neighborhoods in such deficits and look at that misery and then try to coalesce around it.
Yeah. So what would you say would be the solution? Well, not the solution, but like how could we refix our minds to think more on the positives that we see in our community? What are some things that we should be looking out for, since a lot of us don't seem to see what you see?
Well, I think my advice for young people, period, is to understand where we're at historically as a people. And we have to go all the way back from the time that we were taken from Africa and brought to this country. And if we would look at our ancestors and just study how they use struggle as a cultural phenomenon to get out of trouble, to advance the life, to build a life up, then that would give us such pride that we could look at ourselves and believe that we're trying to do the same work that they attempted to do, and that was to establish true freedom, justice, and equality. Um, the earth was made by the Creator for just ends, for justice, and every soul should get recompensed for all of the good that it does. And when that doesn't happen, then that's what the injustice is about. So if you study the ancestor here, when they landed, from the time they landed until we are here right now, 2020, you will find that they established a lot of excellence. They overcame great odds. They believed in family and unity, and that unity was a thing that uh, got us in the position where we're at today. And that's the thing that is sorely missing. So I think we disrespect the ancestors when we don't continue their work or continue in the same way that they approached life in terms of making life much better, especially in a country or an environment that opposed you through laws, through customs, and through culture. Now, certainly things are better than it was yesterday, but in order for us to have a better tomorrow, we have to uplift our ancestors and do that. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier, my association with Juneteenth, that is a celebration that we should come together and be reminded of all of that excellence and stuff like that. And so I think if we gave a little bit more attention to who we are and who we were, I think that our community would start looking through a lens of assets instead of deficits, and we would do a pretty comprehensive work of making a village that takes care of us, that educates us, that employs us, and that gratifies us in terms of our cultural identity.
Now, where can folks like me who just, go to school, may not have a job, just live day-to-day life, have little free time. Where can we go to try to experience some of that? I know that there are a lot of places here in the city, but
Yeah,
I don't know where they are. I've only heard about them. I don't
yeah.
really know where I can go to experience these experiences I'm hearing about from my mom's friends or from Mr. Carson and stuff like that.
Well, that's a good question. And some of these places we have to create all over again. I mean, due to the COVID, there is uh, restrictions on gatherings and where we can be, but certainly uh, there are places that should be opening up soon, and there's a lot of places that the Black Agenda would like to uh, coalesce around in terms of culture and to do those things. But I think, Stephen, you could take a small group or set of you all and find some elders and find folks in the community that can teach Afrocentric philosophy or are doing work to get involved in having to change things or work on a person's campaign. All of this stuff, which is born out of assets for us, is that they're easy to connect and do. And then I think the other thing is that if you have a group that identifies that they really do want to do something, then it's on elders to direct them and possibly have them to do things. But it's always been my understanding that young people know how to organize. They know how to throw parties. Uh, they know how to put on events. They know how to travel this world. They're very gifted in doing these things because they want to be social. They take on the very high instincts of an animal like the sheep. The sheep likes to be very close and warm with the herd. You don't see them as a herd uh, being too distant from each other. They really like to um, get close because that's their nature, but that's our nature too. Uh, we don't want to be alone. We're all suffering literally from the same things. And so it's easy for us to coalesce and work on some things. And so I would suggest that. But you're welcome to get with me later and we can figure out some things if we think that those things are just not happening for us. But there's a lot that is happening in the city of Rochester. There's a lot of fine people that are doing some things. There's real good leadership in the city, and you can find it all. Where I was most proud of you all as young people were the protests this year. You all were able to come together and do some things and make a lasting impact and make it to where we have to change and do better and look at and reassess how we're going to move forward as a group and as a people.
High praise, sir, and I appreciate you. And on behalf of all the folks in my age group, I say thank you.
Mm.
Because that is very high praise coming from somebody like you. I just want to ask you one final question before we head out. And it's, what are some things that you think we should start in our community? Like, I know a lot of people are into the arts here. We've got a huge art scene. There are a lot of people who are invested in sports. We recently had someone drafted in the NBA a few weeks ago. I remember hearing about that. Like a lot of us are coming up, and as we have this energy to organize and to build things, what are some things you think we should shift our focus on that we don't have yet and that we could provide?
Well, I think as the Black agenda, we concentrate on three pillars, which we think is essential for all people to have, and that when you're over these three pillars, um, the life can become more manageable and more complete. and more rewarding for us. And that's education, uh, that's our mental health, and economic development. And so, whatever you take on, whether you're taking on arts, economic development, or education, all three of those things uh, should tie up and bind. You understand, to make it whole. So let's just say that you wanted to do things around arts, right? Well, the art should be a thing that helps you mentally also too. It should bring a euphoric type of awakening to your soul and wake you right up. But it should also have an educational component in it. And most certainly, you should turn it into a business.
Mm.
And so, if you wanted to, like, start a school, same thing with that. Your curriculum should be designed, you understand, to where it's going to match the psyche of the black or brown child that you're trying to educate, right? So mentally, that child is aware of all that is around it and all that it can do. And most certainly, you have to conduct that education as a business if you want your school to work. So you see how all of the things tie in.
Yeah.
The main thing that would be an asset for us all is that if we all just started a business and try to make sure that as we start business, we give business to each other and uh, start competing that way. So when folks come home from uh, jail or anything else like that, they don't have to look all the way around. They could be hired right in the community. But those are the three pillars that we're working on. And we would advise our young people to work within those realms right there and make sure that those things are covered and, really strike out and give the best effort on building up our community based upon you've looked at the community through the eye of asset. You're not looking at the community through an eye of deficit. Because if we look at the deficit and say, "Oh man, we see all of these murders, we see poverty, we see joblessness, we see those things," right? Then those are the things that take the spirit and make the spirit immobile, you
Right.
understand, to
Yeah.
look through the eye of the asset, you understand, and really do some remarkable things to do it. And I'll go back once again. This is why the ancestor has to be studied because they continuously look through the eye of asset, you understand, to get
Yeah.
us where we're at here today. And then it's going to be on you all to get us over the finish line.
Thank you for that, sir. I appreciate it greatly, and definitely gonna hold on to those three pillars because not well, a few people know this, but my goal after college is to try to start my own publishing firm. And I know there's a ton of people in my grade and that I've talked to who are even younger than me who've got dreams of owning a business. So I'm gonna make sure I share this everywhere. You're
Sure.
watching this, share
Yeah.
it with as many people you can.
Yes.
If you've got kids, if you've got little siblings, send this to them. They need to hear these words, and you should too. I appreciate you coming out with me today, and thank you again for your wise words.
Thank you, Stephen. And listen, stay faithful and make the ancestors proud.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Deadline out.
All right. Peace.